Oh, how will I commence this letter, dearest Archie?
A desperate letter from a mother to her son Archie in April of 1917. A telegram to a woman in Toronto letting her know that she is now a widow. Photos of cherished family pets and easier days gone by. Letters, images, and other materials that belong to those who fought in past wars are becoming rarer and harder to find.
These materials might be in closets and attics, and the family's cleaning out the closet and attic and go, well, I don't think anybody ever be interested in this, and it gets tossed.
Stephen Davies is determined to preserve these stories and started the Canadian Letters and Images project 15 years ago.
There wasn't very much Canadian material online, so I started the project initially as a way of bringing materials online for my students, hopefully to get maybe a few dozen, maybe 100 letters.
Now with over 20,000 letters and thousands of other items like photos and diaries, the Canadian Letters and Images project is the largest online archive of personal war materials.
Yeah, in the last letter that I was transcribing for Garlic, he was saying that he got a letter from Stairs and that he's been in the Somme and in the trenches for several months now.
The project has 6 or 7 students working on it at a time. Virginia has been involved with it for 3 years.
One of the biggest things that this project does is it preserves the knowledge that every human being who fought in these wars or who was touched by this conflict was a human being. They weren't a number. They did have a name and a face and a family and a plan for what they wanted to do with their lives. And for a lot of these people, that plan was horribly interrupted.
Swampy LaPointe is a veteran who joined the artillery at age 14 and was posted in the Northwest Territories in 1949.
And then in '56, when the Northwest Territories and Yukon radio system started shutting down, I ended up in Camp Borden, Ontario, and then 3 years in Germany. And then in '62, after the Suez Crisis, I was in Egypt for a year on the Gaza Strip.
Swampy collects photos, books, letters, equipment, and other materials that belong to those who served in the military. As far as these pictures, where did you get these?
They came from a German soldier who was in Normandy. Wow. And the guy who got them ended up in prison in Canada. I don't know who he was, but his brother gave me all the pictures.
Swampy LaPointe, Dr. Stephen Davies, and the students he works with share a passion for remembering the individuals touched by war.
There's a certain nostalgia to it, there's something to it, and there's a feeling that, hey, this guy existed, and he did great work or whatever.
They had very relatable stories. And these were like sons and dads and husbands and farmers and people who had everyday lives that were completely transformed by a conflict that I don't really think my generation at least we can't really imagine that.
I'm reading a collection of a 19-year-old. I have a son who's 19, and I'm reading through, and I'm partway through, and the letters end in 1917, and you know what's happened to that person, and you've already made this connection. I find that it's been very difficult.
I think that's where the personal element comes in to see, this person was just like me. In a lot of cases, this person was younger than me.
What the letters do and what these materials do is they bring a human face to war and remind us that although nations go to war, it's really the individuals who fight the war.
The officers would censor every letter, and if anything was mentioned, they'd either toss it out or rip it out. Yeah.
Although a lot of the material on the website is from the First and Second World War, they collect from any conflict that Canadians have been involved in. The items are scanned and sent back to their owners, with all shipping costs taken care of.
What we're trying to do as part of the project is to alert Canadians that what they have in their closets and attics are a very valuable part of Canada's past. One letter is important, and one photograph is important.
I'd hate to see any of them get lost, you see. History is part of life, you see. And the problem with, if you forget about history, it will repeat itself,
Their stories are so important. They're such an integral part of understanding what Canadians went through during wartime, and how where we are now is so dependent on what they have done for us in the past.
Remembering the past and ensuring that their photos, letters, and memories don't disappear. For Go on Shaw TV, I'm Fiona Shedden.